Glaucoma describes a group of disorders characterized by a loss in visual field. It occurs in about 1% of people over 40 years of age. Viewed through an ophthalmoscope, the optic disc appears depressed because of the loss of nerve fibers. The depressed appearance can be termed as cupping. The mechanism by which the nerve fibers are destroyed in glaucoma is unclear but may involve mechanical factors or local ischemia. It is generally associated with raised intraocular pressure, but can occur when the IOP is within normal limits. The normal intraocular pressure, or IOP, is about 15 millimeters of mercury. It is maintained by a balance of aqueous humour formation by the ciliary body and outflow through the trabecular meshwork into the Canal of Schlemm or the uveoscleral pathway. In glaucoma, this pathway gets blocked, causing the intraocular pressure to raise to 20 millimeters of mercury. Friedrich Schlemm was professor of anatomy in Berlin. He was over 21 years old when he discovered the canal. And the intraocular pressure over 21 mmHg is a sign of glaucoma. Surely, you will never forget this in your medical career. Now, moving towards the types of glaucoma. Patients may have open-angle glaucoma or closed-angle glaucoma. Open-angle glaucoma is the most common form of the disease. In open-angle glaucoma, pathological changes in the retina progressively cause the death of ganglion cells and loss of vision. This process is often associated with elevated normal intraocular pressure. It is caused by pathology of the trabecular meshwork that reduces the drainage of the aqueous humour into the Canal of Schlemm. The pressure is reduced, usually with topical drugs. This is usually achieved either by increasing aqueous outflow or drainage with a prostaglandin analog or by reducing aqueous formation with the beta blockers. If topical drugs fail, then surgery is done to reduce the normal intraocular pressure by 20 to 50% of the initial pressure. In closed-angle glaucoma, the angle between the cornea and the iris is abnormally small, resulting in the forward ballooning of the iris against back of the cornea. Occasionally, the angle closes completely, preventing aqueous outflow, and the normal intraocular pressure quickly rises. Because permanent damage to the retina can occur during these attacks, the pressure must be reduced as quickly as possible. First, let us talk about drugs that reduce intraocular pressure by increasing outflow. Latanoprost is a prodrug of prostaglandin F2, which is also called as PGF2, that passes through the cornea and reduces the intraocular pressure by increasing the uveoscleral outflow of aqueous humour. The term uveoscleral outflow refers to the drainage of ocular aqueous humour from the anterior chamber into the anterior chamber angle other than through the trabecular meshwork. Unlike the trabecular outflow route, the uveoscleral outflow route is not a distinctive pathway with tubes and channels. Latanoprost is very effective and has reduced the number of patients requiring surgery. It has minimal systemic side effects and is widely used. Next, we have pilocarpine. It is a muscarinic agonist. Pilocarpine reduces the IOP by contracting the ciliary muscle. This constricting the pupil and allowing aqueous to drain from the anterior chamber into the trabecular meshwork. The fluid pathways are opened up and aqueous outflow is increased. Now talking about sympathomimetics. Adrenaline, dipivefrine, and brimonidine are commonly used sympathomimetics. They cause miosis, resulting in poor night vision and complaints of dimming of vision. This is a result of ciliary muscle spasm, similar to pilocarpine mechanism of action. Here is an overview image to memorize the drugs that reduce the intraocular pressure by increasing outflow. So, this brings us to the drugs that reduce IOP by decreasing aqueous secretion. Beta blockers, for example, timolol block beta-2 adrenoceptors on the ciliary processes and so reduce aqueous secretion. In addition, they may block beta receptors in the afferent blood vessels supplying the ciliary processes. The resulting vasoconstriction produces reduced ultrafiltration and aqueous formation. Usually, these drugs are given as eye drops, so they may be absorbed through the nasal mucosa and produce systemic effects. Thus, beta blockers may provoke bronchospasm in asthmatics or bradycardia in susceptible patients. Therefore, beta blockers should be avoided in patients with asthma, heart failure, heart block, or bradycardia. Brimonidine and apraclinidine are alpha-2 adrenoceptor agonists. They decrease aqueous formation by stimulating alpha-2 receptors on the adrenergic nerve terminals innervating the ciliary body, thus reducing norepinephrine release. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, that includes acetazolamide, acts on the ciliary body and prevents bicarbonate synthesis. This leads to a fall in sodium transport and aqueous formation because bicarbonate and sodium transport are linked. Acetazolamide is given orally or intravenously, but is too toxic for long-term use. Dorzolamide is a topically active inhibitor of carbonic anhydrase. It can be used alone in patients in whom beta blockers are contraindicated. It is a sulfonamide and systemic side effects may occur, for example, skin rashes, bronchospasm. If all else fails, laser trabecular surgery may be used as an alternative to drugs in glaucoma. Under local anesthesia, the surgeon uses an argon or diode laser to place about 100 evenly spaced lesions on the inner surface of the trabecular meshwork. The laser burns cause localized shrinkage, which exerts tension on the adjacent, untreated tissue, opening spaces in the meshwork and allowing increased aqueous drainage.